Hey, welcome back to Real Talk. Thanks for hanging out with us. So we started Real Talk because we want to talk about stuff that's real.
And hand sanitizer is the thing of the day.
These days, it is pretty important. So we're going to talk about what's real right now. Coronavirus.
It is real.
Because it's going on.
Wow. I'm running out.
Oh,
I'm
no.
running out of hand sanitizer.
And there's no place to buy it, I hear.
I know, and I always carry a lot in a little bottle, but I just seem to be going by it through it really fast.
Stores are running out of it.
I know, and people are like fighting each other.
Running out of toilet paper? You got any of that hidden anywhere?
I got stockpiles of it because you never know when you'll get the... You just never know.
So let's talk about this thing because it's leading every major network, in every headline in the newspaper. Literally, the stock market, they closed the stock market for a few hours or for a little while or whatever, because it's just causing chaos. Schools are closing.
Mm-hmm. And people, I mean, we kind of joke about it, right? At least in this part of the country. Well, people will be like, oh, coughing, and like, oh, I hope you don't have the coronavirus.
Right.
And I can understand why some people are joking about it, but it's not a joke at the same time.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of hype and lots of
news. But the
news.
name is not helping anything. The coronavirus, that's something I had in college a few times. And the Dos Equis virus and the Guinness virus. Come on.
There's going to be people right now that are going to be watching this that are going to be like, you guys don't take anything seriously, you bunch of idiots. It
is serious. People are sick.
The name, and the name of it is just, it's easy not to play on it, right? For sure. Every joke under the sun about Corona,
sets itself up. Okay.
For sure. But I actually heard that Corona is actually taking a financial hit.
Their sales.
There's some really ignorant people out there.
Right.
Some of you are watching right now. Where you're just like, really? You're not going to buy a beer? But yeah, their beer sales are going down because of the name of the disease. But in all seriousness, it's
real.
It is real. Yeah. And I think this may be the difference between you and me. I have to be honest with you, the viewer. I've been scared about it.
Okay.
I read a lot and watch a lot, and there's certain voices that I listen to and things that I'm reading that make me really anxious about this whole thing. Is this thing going to come and wipe out is this the one that's going to wipe us out? Is that your normal disposition? When you read about this and you think about it, what's your bend?
No, I probably actually bend too far the other direction where I maybe am not as concerned about it in some ways. I think it depends on also, what are you consuming? Who are you listening to? What voices? Are you reading news? Are you reading science? Are you reading, what platforms are you looking at? So just candidly for us, we have a child who's immunosuppressed. So any talk of disease and outbreak is a big deal to us. So we research a lot of it. I have to give all the credit to my wife for that she reads up on this stuff and reads a lot of stuff from medical sources on it. And so I feel like we've done our fair share of reading on it. And what we're hearing from them is different than what you hear in the news.
So there is something interesting happening where it's hard to even know where to go for what you just called the news.
Right.
Because if you read something from Mayo Clinic or CDC or WHO, World Health Organization, what's the difference between what they're saying and what the news media on social media, what the major news outlets and media channels are saying? How do you separate and know the difference? For you personally, how do you work through that?
Well, yeah, so medical resources that we look at are from hospitals and from things like the National Institute of Health, and you read from the CDC, and you look at that stuff, and what you find is sort of more of a, okay, temper everything here, slow down everybody, where I think my sense is the news media is cranking it up, where kind of the medical, the science side is going, okay, let's address this scientifically, reasonably. What's the appropriate response and approach to this?
So there's two things that I just heard you say that I think are really important for our viewers as you approach any crisis.
Yeah.
Number one, what news source are you looking at? Are you just taking whatever's on your news feed or for your social media?
Right.
Are you just turning on the radio or turning on the television to whatever? Or are you a thoughtful consumer of information where you're really thinking through, because the source of this information really matters, number one. Really think about the source of the information you're getting, and if the source is making you anxious or not anxious, okay, what's the source? Number one. Number two, I think something you said that was really helpful. Science matters. Right. And like when we talk about God and we talk about the Bible, and we talk about this all the time individually, like we think good theology and good science are always friends.
Oh, definitely.
Right? So we're talking about a disease that has scientific results and realities. What are the scientists saying?
Right.
And as Christians, we should pay attention to that, shouldn't we?
Yeah, for sure.
The scientists are saying certain things that should matter to us.
What do we do with all the fear, though? Like, because I see a lot of, okay, let's look to the social media stuff. Let's look at the news just for a second, because they are driving what we're hearing and what we're sensing and what we're feeling, right? And you look at the economy, and if we're just totally honest, statistically, what is happening with coronavirus shouldn't be having the impact that it's having.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not a proportionate response to the reality.
Correct. I mean,
Yes.
certainly people have died from this.
Yes.
Okay, so not to downplay that, but at the macro level that we're all freaking out about it, it's not really an appropriate response. Currently. And that could be obsolete by the time we finish talking about it right now. Okay?
And but that is something curious to look at. Why is that happening?
Yeah. So the fear that comes up out of it that's driving all this, like, what do we do with that? Because it would be easy to go, okay, like schools are closing. There are pockets of the country where they have closed schools. And throughout the world, they're doing this also, right? And in one sense, that cranks up the fear. In another sense, it might make more people scoff. So, like, where do we have to land? Like, what do we do with all that? Because to me, it's like, if we're closing a school, then when do we reopen it? Yep. Because this is a virus. It's going to keep going for a while. And coronavirus is not new. This is just a particular strand of coronavirus.
That is new.
That is new.
We're not ready for.
Correct.
Right? So that's what science is saying. You know, I'm not sure what the answer is. I think it goes back to, who are you listening to? If the people that you're listening to are just making you more fearful and more anxious, is that really an appropriate response for anyone, let alone a person of faith? If I'm listening and watching 24-hour cable news channels and everything they're saying on any topic is just making me fearful and anxious, or making me angry, or making me not believe and follow God, if that's happening, like, maybe I should change where I'm spending my time watching and listening, because that's not the way God designed us to live. To have ratchet up fear or ratchet up anger, like, that's not. So
well, and honestly, like, the way they make money is by getting you to continue to watch. So it's in their interest to continue to sort of promote that fear or anger or whatever it is.
There are right now going on in our culture, I think sociologically, why we're at the spot. There are political reasons why we're at the spot we are as a country. The reality is there's political reasons why people on both sides of the aisle want to politicize this. There's economic reasons where people are benefiting economically. I mean, there's all this stuff. What ultimately do we do as followers of Christ? And I don't want to be cheesy about this. Like, some people will say, stop. You shouldn't panic. You should only pray. It's like, okay, we live in a real world. So I know as a person that this stuff makes me a little anxious. You get a little anxious about it. You got a daughter that you're trying to protect. I have kids. So I want to be wise. I think, what are the things that can help me to be wise? There's a difference between being wise and fearful. So how do I...
reasonable is wise.
Right? How do I promote...
So I'm going to wash my hands. I'm not just going to go, well, God's going to protect me. God's like, wash your hands and use soap and use hand sanitizer.
Probably not like... And you know what? A little social distance isn't a bad thing.
Little fist bump instead of a handshake, whatever.
For sure. Wise living makes sense to me.
And you can do all that and still be in that space of, I'm not fearing, I'm being wise. Because we're not supposed to fear, right? We're not supposed to fear.
Clearly the Bible says,
over and over, do not fear. We have this great God who has our interest in mind, but we can also be wise.
I think there's a real balance there. And I go back to what's happening in our culture, the motivations behind why people are doing what they're doing, self-preservation, political motivations, economic motivations. Oh, man, if that's all throwing gas on your fire and making you anxious, sift through that and go read the medical journals. Listen to your local officials. Here's the other thing. I just think this is huge. When there's all this noise internationally and nationally, and you don't know what to do, go hyper-local. What are your local authorities saying? What is your local healthcare workers saying? What's your local doctor saying?
Yep.
Because you know these people. They live in your community. I think it's interesting that in this globalized world, what we're going to find more and more is the most local things are the things that can help us the most.
So we're going to be reasonable, and we're not going to fear, and we're going to we're going to pay attention to who we're listening to.
Yeah.
Good? Is that how we help them? I think it's good. And I have some bad news.
What's that?
Costco not doing samples anymore.
Because of this?
Yeah.
So you're not getting a free lunch another day because of this?
Nope. See you next time on Real Talk.